We all know the story. The hero who conquered the impossible city. Sultan Mehmed II, the man who ended one age and kicked off another. But history books? They usually skip the dirty secret behind that victory. See, to pay for those massive cannons and that giant fleet, Mehmed had to do something unthinkable. He had to betray his own people. He pulled off the first great wealth transfer in imperial history. He didn't just tax his subjects, he literally picked their pockets while they slept. He invented a money glitch, a financial trick that modern governments still use to quietly steal your savings. Welcome to the dark side of the Ottoman Golden Age. This is the story of how the conquest of Istanbul was actually bought. To get the crime, you have to understand the motive. It's 1451. A young, ambitious sultan is on the throne in Edirne. Mehmed is obsessed with one thing: Constantinople, the red apple. But here's the problem. War isn't just hell. It's expensive, astronomically expensive. Mehmed didn't just want an army, he wanted cutting-edge tech. He hired Urban, the Hungarian engineer, to build a cannon big enough to shatter the unbreachable Theodosian walls. He ordered hundreds of ships built from scratch. Gunpowder, supplies, salaries for thousands of elite Janissaries. The bill was adding up fast. When Mehmed looked at the treasury left by his father, he saw a terrifying reality. It wasn't enough. Even with taxes fully collected, this war would bankrupt the empire before the first shot was fired. He needed cash. Fast. Mehmed had two choices. 1. Give up on Constantinople. 2. Figure out how to print money out of thin air. He went with option 2. Back then, the Ottoman currency was the akçe, a small silver coin. Its value came from the actual silver inside it. Honest money. If you held an akçe, you held real wealth. But Mehmed's advisors pitched a dangerous idea. What if we took all the silver coins, melted them down, and mixed in some cheap copper? This was the birth of tashish, debasement. Here's the play. The Sultan orders a recall of all coins. The mints run 24/7. They take 100 ounces of silver, which used to make, say, 100 coins, mix in copper, and boom, now they have 130 coins. To the naked eye, it looked the same. Still had the Sultan's name. But inside, it was rotten, worth less. The state created free money for itself, but they did it by stealing the purchasing power from every merchant, soldier, and baker in the empire. Imagine waking up tomorrow. You go to the market for bread. Yesterday it cost 1 akçe. Today, the baker looks at your coin weirdly. He bites it, weighs it. It feels light. He looks you in the eye and says, 2 akçes. Overnight, prices skyrocketed. Not just inflation, chaos. The Sultan got his cannons. He got his ships. The treasury was overflowing with these junk coins. But the common people? Their wealth evaporated. This was the moment the state realized it didn't need tax collectors knocking on doors. They could just manipulate the money supply. A silent robbery. But there was one group you really didn't want to rip off. The Janissaries. The Janissaries were the empire's special forces, and they got paid in cash. When they got their salaries in this new, watered-down currency, they lost it. They went to the taverns and realized their pay couldn't even buy a decent meal anymore. That tension exploded into the Buçuktepe incident. It was the first time in Ottoman history the military revolted purely over economics. They marched on the palace, banging their empty cauldrons, a sound that basically meant, "We're coming for your head." Mehmed, the guy who would go on to conquer the world, was cornered by his own troops. He had to fold. He raised their salaries to match the inflation he created. It was a band-aid on a bullet hole. but it bought him enough loyalty to march on Constantinople. 1453, the walls fell. Constantinople became Istanbul. The gamble paid off. The loot and new trade routes eventually stabilized the economy. History focused on the glory, but the economic scar never really healed. Tashish became like a drug for the Ottoman Empire. Whenever a future sultan needed cash for a war or a fancy palace, they remembered Mehmed's trick. Melt the coins. Add copper. Repeat. By the end of the empire, centuries later, the Akçe had lost nearly 99% of its silver. The seeds of the empire's financial collapse weren't planted at the end. They were planted right in the middle of its greatest victory. Today, it's easy to judge Mehmed, but check your own wallet. Look at the dollars, euros, or liras in your bank account. Central banks don't mix copper into silver anymore. That's primitive. Now, they just type numbers into a computer. They call it quantitative easing. But let's be real. It's the exact same thing. The money supply goes up, your labor is worth less. The Conqueror bought a city with inflation. Modern governments buy votes with it. Different methods, same game. So, what do you think? Was the conquest worth the economic misery? Or is this just the cost of doing business for an empire? Let me know in the comments. And if you want to see how the Roman Empire made this exact same mistake 1,000 years earlier, click right here. Thanks for watching Financial Historica.